Ever wondered what the limit of holiday audacity is? Brace yourself because we're counting down 49 of the most mind-boggling, jaw-dropping attempts people made to return used holiday gifts. From a half-eaten fruitcake to a drone haunted by ghosts, you won't believe the lengths some people went to. 1. A determined suburban mom marched into the crowded department store on the day after Christmas. She dragged a giant dying Douglas fir tree behind her. It still had shiny tinsel and popcorn strings hanging from the branches. The exhausted cashier watched as dry pine needles covered the clean floor. The woman demanded a full refund immediately. She claimed the holidays were officially over, so the tree did not fit her vibe anymore. The manager stood there in total silence. He could not believe someone would actually return a used tree. The woman insisted she was just being practical. It was a truly wild scene for everyone. 2. A grumpy grandfather walked up to the customer service desk with a chocolate box. He slammed the festive red container down on the counter. The teenage employee looked inside and saw half the chocolates were missing. The old man said he wanted his money back right now. He claimed the chocolates tasted funny after he shared them with his whole family. The employee looked at the empty wrappers scattered inside the box. It was clear they enjoyed the caramel ones. The manager explained that taste testing half the box was not allowed. The grandpa grumbled about poor quality control. He left the store angry while still chewing on a piece of nougat. 3. A young college guy approached the return counter with a bundle of fabric. He pulled out a bright green sweater featuring a reindeer with a red nose. The fabric was stretched out and smelled strongly of cheap cologne and sweat. The clerk noticed a giant yellow stain right under the armpits. The guy kept a straight face and said he only tried it on for a few photos. The line behind him started giggling at the obvious lie. He shifted awkwardly while the cashier pointed out the dried nacho cheese on the sleeve. It was clearly worn to a wild party. The audacity was hilarious to witness. The manager refused the return. 4. An elderly woman walked slowly into the garden center with a heavy pot. Inside the pot sat a completely brown and shriveled poinsettia plant. It looked like it had been dead for weeks. She placed it on the counter with a heavy sigh. She told the confused employee that the plant died way too fast after Christmas dinner. The employee noticed the soil was bone dry and cracked. It was obvious nobody had watered the poor thing. The grandma insisted it was a defective plant and wanted store credit. Other customers watched in disbelief as she argued over the dead leaves. It was a classic case of denial. The poor plant never stood a chance. 5. A busy father rushed into the grocery store holding a plastic bag. He pulled out 2 half-empty bottles of premium eggnog. The milk had clearly started to separate and looked gross. He told the cashier he wanted a refund because his family did not drink it all. The smell coming from the bottle was sour and pungent. The cashier looked at him like he was crazy. The dad explained that he bought too much and did not want to waste money. People in line covered their noses to block the smell. It was shocking that he thought a grocery store accepted leftover drinks. He left disappointed and embarrassed. 6. A middle-aged uncle marched to the meat department with a greasy foil package. He unwrapped it to reveal a completely stripped ham bone. There was not a single scrap of meat left on it. He slammed his fist on the counter and demanded his money back. He shouted that there was not enough meat on the bone for his guests. The butcher stared at the clean bone in total shock. It looked like a pack of wolves had eaten every bite. The uncle refused to calm down and kept yelling about portion sizes. It was a scene of pure entitlement. Everyone around just shook their heads in amazement. 7. A stressed mother came into the toy store holding a tape box. It was a popular family board game that looked battered. She admitted her family played one very intense game night. The employee opened the box to check the contents. Half of the game money and the little car pieces were missing. The board itself was ripped down the middle. The mom explained things got heated when Grandma started cheating. She wanted a fresh box to try again next year. The clerk could not help but laugh at the destruction. It sounded like a wrestling match happened instead of a game. The refund was immediately denied. 8. A fashion-conscious teen girl walked up to the boutique counter confidently. She placed a delicate red lace teddy on the glass surface. The tag was ripped off and pinned back on poorly. She complained that the fabric was way too itchy for New Year's Eve. The sales associate noticed glitter and body lotion all over the lace. It was obvious she wore it to a party already. The girl flipped her hair and acted annoyed by the inspection. The associate explained that intimate items are final sale. The girl rolled her eyes and stormed out. It was a bold attempt to rent an outfit for free. The staff was stunned. 9. A frustrated dad dragged a massive cardboard box into the big box store. A trail of plastic green needles followed him through the automatic doors. He claimed the expensive artificial tree started falling apart right after setup. The box was bulging because the tree was shoved in haphazardly. When the manager opened it, he found ornaments still hooked on the branches. The dad had clearly just shoved the fully decorated tree back in. He tried to look innocent while a silver bauble rolled onto the floor. It was a lazy attempt to return a used product. The staff had a good laugh after he finally left the store. 10. A tired aunt approached customer service with a sticky cardboard tray. On the tray sat a collapsed gingerbread house covered in frosting. Several walls had large bite marks in them. She told the clerk that her nieces and nephews did not like the taste. The gumdrops were missing and the icing was rock hard. The clerk stared at the half-eaten ruin in amazement. The aunt insisted the cookie part was too stale for the kids. It was wild that she brought back crumbs and debris. Customers nearby whispered about the strange request. The store policy definitely did not cover eaten snacks. It was very awkward for everyone involved. 11. A chaotic uncle walked into the fireworks tent on January 2nd. He held a bag of small sparklers and fountains. He told the vendor he wanted his money back now. He explained that the family did not use them all on Christmas. The vendor looked at the singed labels on the packaging. It was clear the uncle had lit the big ones already. The uncle insisted he overbought and deserved a refund. The vendor laughed and pointed to the no return sign. The uncle stood there holding the bag looking confused. It was absurd to think explosives were returnable items. The line of customers chuckled. 12. A sophisticated woman strolled into the gourmet shop with a basket. Inside the basket sat 3 completely empty wine bottles. She placed them down gently on the wooden counter. She told the clerk the wine was corked and tasted terrible. The clerk noticed there was not a single drop left inside. The woman claimed she had to drink it to be sure. It was a bold lie that shocked everyone nearby. The manager politely explained that empty bottles have zero value. The woman acted insulted and adjusted her expensive scarf. It was a classic attempt to get free booze. The staff just stared in disbelief. 13. A proud grandfather walked into the hobby store carrying a large frame. Inside the frame was a perfectly completed 1,000-piece landscape puzzle. It was glued together and ready to hang on a wall. He told the cashier he wanted to return it for credit. He explained that he finished it and wanted something harder next time. The cashier looked at the glued pieces with wide eyes. You cannot resell a puzzle that is permanently stuck together. The grandpa did not understand why the store would not take it back. He thought he was doing them a favor. The return was obviously rejected immediately. 14. A disgruntled dad marched into the deli with a greasy bag. He pulled out a turkey skeleton that was picked completely clean. He slammed the bones on the scale with authority. He demanded a full refund for the holiday bird. He claimed the meat was way too dry after dinner was over. The butcher looked at the bare bones in total shock. It was clear the family ate every single bite. The dad argued that the dryness ruined his holiday meal experience. Other shoppers stopped their carts to watch the drama. It was the most ridiculous complaint the butcher had ever heard. 15. A party planner mom returned to the party store with sadness. She dragged a tangled clump of silver and gold mylar balloons. They were completely deflated and wrinkled on the floor. She told the manager they did not stay floating long enough. She expected them to last well into the new year. The manager checked the receipt and saw she bought them weeks ago. Helium naturally escapes after a few days of floating. The mom insisted they were defective and wanted her cash back. The employees tried not to laugh at the sad balloons. It was a physics lesson she clearly did not understand. 16. A young boy and his mother approached the candy counter. The boy held a sticky bag of half-eaten candy canes. The ends were sharp and sucked down to thin points. The mother told the clerk they wanted to return the box. She said the candy was just way too pepperminty for him. The clerk looked at the slobbery mess in the plastic bag. It was unhygienic and honestly quite gross to witness. The mother acted like this was a normal request. The clerk refused to touch the sticky red and white mess. It was a strange reason to return cheap candy. 17. An elderly lady walked into the bakery with a heavy box. She opened it to reveal a dense fruitcake with slices missing. She poked the cake with her finger and frowned. She told the baker it was not as fresh as advertised. The baker noticed nearly half the cake was already gone. It seems she enjoyed the first few slices just fine. The lady insisted the cherries tasted old and stale. Customers behind her rolled their eyes at the complaint. It is famous that nobody actually likes fruitcake anyway. The baker politely declined the return of the half-eaten dessert. 18. A frantic father ran into the home goods store with a box. He pulled out a silver menorah that was covered in wax. Blue and white drips coated every single candle holder. He told the associate he wanted to return it for store credit. He said they did not need it until next year. The associate pointed out the heavy use from all 8 nights. The dad tried to scrape some wax off with his fingernail. It was bold to rent a religious item for free. The associate handed him a cleaning cloth instead of a refund. The dad left looking very defeated. 19. A college student walked into the supermarket with a round metal tin. He shook it and it made a hollow metal sound. He told the customer service desk the cookies went stale too quick. The employee opened the lid and saw nothing but crumbs. There was not a single cookie left in the tin. The student claimed he had to throw them out because they were bad. The employee knew he likely ate them during a late-night study session. The request was denied because there was no product left to return. The student walked away looking hungry and disappointed. 20. A party animal uncle stumbled into the costume shop post-Christmas. He held a red Santa hat with fluffy white trim. The trim was stained yellow with fake beard glue and orange makeup. He told the clerk he only tried it on once. The hat smelled like stale beer and hairspray. The clerk pointed to the crusty glue on the fabric. The uncle tried to argue it came out of the package that way. Everyone in the store knew he wore it to a bar crawl. The return was rejected immediately due to hygiene reasons. It was a gross and funny attempt. 21. A cheerful grandma walked into the craft store carrying a large plastic bag. She pulled out a holiday wreath that looked like it had been in a storm. Half the red fake berries were missing, and the pine cones were gone. She told the cashier she wanted to exchange it for a spring one. She admitted her grandkids picked off the decorations because they were bored. The cashier looked at the bare wire frame showing through the greenery. It was basically destroyed and could not be resold. The grandma smiled sweetly, expecting a full refund. The manager had to explain that damage by grandchildren is not a defect. 22. A young woman rushed to the returns desk with a colorful box. It was an expensive chocolate advent calendar with 24 doors. Every single little cardboard door was ripped wide open. The plastic trays inside were completely empty of any chocolate. She told the clerk she wanted her money back on December 26. The clerk asked what was wrong with the product. The woman just shrugged and said Christmas was over now. She seriously tried to return an empty box of trash. The people in line gasped at the pure audacity. It was one of the boldest moves the store had seen. 23. A hopeful romantic guy walked into the florist shop with a small bag. He pulled out a sprig of dried and brown mistletoe. He tossed it on the counter with a look of disappointment. He told the florist that the plant did not bring him any kisses. He claimed it was defective because his holiday romance failed. The florist stared at him, trying to figure out if he was joking. The guy looked genuinely upset about his lack of luck. The florist explained that magic powers are not guaranteed with purchase. He took his dried plant back and left sadly. It was a funny but tragic moment. 24. A busy mom marched into the grocery store with an empty box. The box used to hold 12 packets of gourmet hot cocoa mix. She shook the empty box at the cashier and demanded a refund. She claimed the cocoa was not chocolatey enough for her kids. The cashier asked for the unused packets to return to the manufacturer. The mom admitted they drank every single one, hoping it would get better. The cashier tried to hide a smile at the ridiculous logic. You cannot consume the whole product and then say you hated it. The refund was firmly denied by the manager. 25. A headache-prone aunt walked into the candle shop with a glass jar. The jar was black with soot and the wax was gone. The wick was burned all the way down to the metal base. She told the sales associate the smell gave everyone terrible headaches. The associate looked at the completely empty jar in confusion. If it caused a headache, why burn the entire thing for 40 hours? The aunt insisted she kept hoping the scent would improve. It was clear she just wanted a free replacement candle. The associate politely explained that a burned candle is a kept candle. 26. A clumsy dad brought a wooden box back to the Collectibles store. He carefully pulled out a beautiful hand-painted nutcracker soldier. The jaw of the nutcracker was hanging loose by a single wire. He told the owner he was just demonstrating how it works to his son. The owner saw walnut shell fragments stuck in the broken wood. These decorative figures are not meant to crack actual hard nuts. The dad argued it should be stronger for the price he paid. The owner sighed at the lack of common sense. It was a classic case of misuse ruining a nice gift. 27. A teenage girl skipped into the accessory store holding a sparkly headband. The reindeer antlers were bent at crazy angles and the felt was ripped. She told the cashier the headband bent out of shape way too easily. She admitted it happened after too much dancing at a holiday party. The cashier saw glitter and hairspray all over the bent metal. It looked like it had survived a mosh pit, not a dinner. The girl acted like the quality was the problem. The manager refused the return because of the obvious wear and tear. It was a fun night, but a bad return attempt. 28. A weary mother walked into the bookstore with a small red box. Inside was the famous elf on the shelf doll looking disheveled. She slammed it down and said she wanted it out of her house. She claimed the doll creeped out her whole family after 2 weeks. The clerk noticed the elf had a marker mustache drawn on its face. The mom said the kids got scared of its staring eyes. The clerk explained they could not resell a drawn-on doll. The mom begged them to just take it away for free. It was hilarious how much she hated that little toy. 29. A frustrated homeowner dragged a garbage bag into the hardware store. He dumped a massive tangled ball of green wire and lights on the counter. It looked like a giant knot that would never come undone. He told the associate there were multiple burned-out bulbs in the mess. He wanted a brand new set for next year immediately. The associate asked if he tried to untangle it first. The man said that was the store's problem now. It was clear he was too lazy to organize his lights. The store refused to accept. The rat's nest of wires. He left grumbling about customer service. 30. A disappointed child and his dad walked up to the gift shop counter. The dad held a plastic bag that was dripping wet with water. Inside was a snow globe that had lost almost all its liquid. The dad explained it leaked glitter water everywhere after vigorous shaking. The kid looked guilty and was covered in sparkly specks. The shop owner looked at the crack in the glass base. It was obvious the kid dropped it or shook it too hard. The dad insisted it was a manufacturing defect in the seal. The owner pointed out the impact mark on the glass. 31. A sleepy teenager walked into the clothing store holding a bundle. It was a pair of fuzzy red holiday pajamas. He placed them on the counter with a loud yawn. He told the clerk he wanted to return them today. The clerk unfolded the fabric and gasped loudly. There were dark popcorn burns and sticky hot chocolate spills everywhere. The teen admitted the damage happened during a movie marathon. He claimed the fabric was not durable enough for lounging. The clerk stared at the chocolate stains in disbelief. It was obvious he slept in them for 3 days straight. The manager refused the refund instantly. It was a gross attempt. 32. A lonely bachelor walked into the electronics store with a disc case. It was a DVD of a burning Yule log fire. He told the cashier he was done with it. He admitted he watched it on loop all Christmas Eve. The cashier checked the disc and saw fingerprints all over it. The man claimed the fire crackling sound was too repetitive. He wanted his money back since the holiday was over. The cashier explained that open movies are not returnable. The man argued he only used it for ambiance. It was hilarious that he treated a video fire like a rental. The refund was denied. 33. A stressed hostess marched into the supermarket with an empty box. She slammed the cardboard packaging of instant gravy on the belt. She demanded a full refund for the ruined dinner. She shouted that the gravy turned out way too salty. The cashier looked at the box and saw it was empty. The woman admitted the family ate it but complained the whole time. The cashier tried to explain she could not return eaten food. The woman insisted her reputation was damaged by the salt. Customers in line shook their heads at the drama. It was wild to ask for money back after licking the bowl clean. 34. An elderly lady walked into the party supply store slowly. She held a clear plastic bag filled with crumpled paper. Inside were festive napkins stained with brown gravy and red lipstick. She told the associate she wanted a refund for the unused ones. The associate saw that every single napkin was dirty and used. The lady claimed they did not absorb spills well enough. The smell coming from the bag was stale and old. The associate was horrified by the bag of trash. The lady acted like returning garbage was normal behavior. The store manager had to step in and politely ask her to leave. 35. A young professional woman came into the gift shop in a rush. She pulled a ceramic Santa mug out of her purse. There was a large chip on the rim of the cup. She told the clerk it chipped in her dishwasher. The clerk pointed to the bottom of the mug. The text clearly said, "Hand wash only," in big letters. The woman rolled her eyes and said, "Nobody reads that." She insisted the mug should be stronger for the price. The clerk refused to replace it due to user error. The woman left angry while holding her broken cup. It was a classic case of ignoring instructions. 36. A furious father stormed into the decoration aisle with a bag. The bag was filled with loose silver and gold tinsel strands. He shook the bag in the face of the employee. He demanded a refund for the mess it made. He claimed the tinsel fell all over his clean carpets. The employee explained that tinsel is messy by nature. The dad did not care and wanted compensation for vacuuming. He actually scraped the floor to collect the return. It was absurd to bring back piles of plastic garbage. The employee could not stop laughing after he walked away. It was the dumbest complaint of the season. 37. A picky eater walked into the grocery store with a sticky can. The lid was peeled back and red sauce was dripping. He told the customer service desk it was inedible. He claimed the cranberry sauce was way too tart for his taste. The employee saw that the can was half empty inside. It looked like he scooped out quite a lot before stopping. The man insisted he needed a refund for the bad flavor. The employee explained that personal taste is not a product defect. The man argued loudly about the sugar content. It was a strange battle over a $2 item. The return was rejected. 38. A college athlete jogged into the clothing store with a receipt. He pulled a pair of novelty snowman socks from his pocket. The heels were dark gray and stretched out completely. He told the cashier he only wore them once. He claimed he just wanted to test the fit. The cashier noticed the fabric was pilling and smelled like feet. It was obvious he wore them for a full day. The athlete acted confused why they would not take them back. The cashier explained that used socks are a hygiene issue. The guy shrugged and put the dirty socks back in his pocket. It was totally gross. 39. An old-school dad walked into the music shop with a jewel case. He opened it to show a holiday CD covered in scratches. He told the clerk the disc skips on every song. He admitted playing it on repeat for 3 weeks straight. The clerk looked at the circular grooves worn into the plastic. It was clear the player was bumped or the disc was mishandled. The dad wanted a fresh copy for next year. The clerk explained that physical damage is not covered. The dad grumbled about the quality of modern technology. It was funny. Seeing someone still buying physical CDs. The return was denied. 40. A perfectionist mom approached the station with 3 rolls of paper. The rolls were open and half the paper was cut off. She told the associate she wanted to return the rest. She claimed the pattern clashed with her other gifts. The associate looked at the jagged, cut lines on the rolls. The mom admitted she wrapped 10 gifts before realizing it looked bad. She seriously wanted credit for the unused half of the paper. The associate tried to explain you cannot return cut paper. The mom acted like this was a reasonable request. It was shocking how picky some people can be. The request was refused. 41. A disorganized aunt walked into the stationery store with a plastic folder. She pulled out several sheets of festive sticky gift tags. They looked terrible and were peeling off the wax paper backing. She told the clerk she wanted to exchange them for new ones. The clerk noticed that every single tag had names, written in permanent marker. The aunt admitted she wrote the wrong names on the wrong gifts. She peeled them off the wrapping paper to return them. The clerk stared at the used stickers in total shock. It was impossible to resell tags that said, "To Bob from Susan." The return was obviously rejected. 42. A thrifty grandmother walked up to the counter with a large garbage bag. She dumped a pile of crushed bows and tangled ribbons on the surface. The decorations were flattened and had pieces of wrapping paper stuck to them. She told the cashier she salvaged them from the family gift exchange. She demanded a refund because they were still in okay condition. The cashier looked at the pile of trash with wide eyes. It was clear the bows were ripped off presents violently. The grandma insisted it was a waste of money to keep them. The manager politely explained they do not buy back used garbage. 43. A clumsy father walked into the holiday shop holding a small cardboard box, opened it to reveal a pile of sparkling red glass shards. It was a delicate ornament that was completely destroyed. He told the shop owner it shattered while he was hanging it. He demanded a free replacement for the broken decoration. The owner explained that gravity is not a manufacturing defect. The dad argued that the glass was way too fragile for a tree. It was obvious he just dropped it on the hard floor. The owner refused to replace the item due to user clumsiness. The dad left very angry. 44. A brazen teenager walked into the hardware store with 2 metal cans. He placed the empty cans of artificial window snow on the counter. He told the cashier he was done decorating his house. He wanted his money back since he did not need the snow anymore. The cashier shook the cans and felt they were completely light and empty. The teen admitted he sprayed all the windows for a party. He basically tried to rent the product for free. The cashier looked at him like he was insane. The return was denied because you cannot return a used-up aerosol can. It was wild. 45. A competitive uncle marched into the toy store with a small wooden top. He showed the clerk a dreidel that was chipped and dented. The paint was worn off the sides from hitting the floor. He told the clerk he wanted a refund for poor quality. He admitted the family played excessive spinning games all week long. The clerk looked at the battered toy in amazement. It was clear they spun it on a rough concrete surface. The uncle insisted it should be indestructible for the price. The clerk laughed and said wear and tear is not covered. The uncle was not happy at all. 46. A novice cook walked into the grocery store with an open box. It was a mix for traditional potato latkes. He told the manager he wanted his money back immediately. He claimed the pancakes came out way too greasy after frying. The manager looked at him with a confused expression. The grease comes from the oil you fry them in. It has nothing to do with the dry potato mix. The man insisted the box was defective and ruined his dinner. It was a classic case of bad cooking skills. The manager refused the return and gave him a cooking tip instead. 47. A stylish woman approached the cultural gift shop counter with a bag. She pulled out a beautiful wooden Unity cup used for Kwanzaa. She told the owner she wanted to return it now. The owner noticed bright red lipstick marks on the rim. There were also dark stains inside from wine or juice. The woman claimed she only used it for one ceremony. The owner explained that used drinkware cannot be resold. It was a clear hygiene violation to bring it back. The woman acted offended that they would not take it. The owner stood firm and refused the dirty cup. 48. A hungover young man walked into the party store on January 2nd. He dumped a bag of plastic horns and noisemakers on the counter. He rubbed his temples and spoke in a whisper. He told the clerk they were painfully loud and hurt his ears. He admitted using them at midnight for the big countdown. The clerk stared at the slobbery plastic mouthpieces in disgust. The entire point of the product is to be loud. The guy insisted they were defective because they caused a headache. The clerk refused to touch the used items. The return was rejected for being completely ridiculous. 49. A confused lady walked up to the customer service desk with a slip of paper. She held out a crumpled gift receipt to the cashier. She demanded cash for the total amount listed on the bottom. The cashier asked where the actual items were. The lady said she left them at home because she did not like them. She seriously thought returning the paper was enough to get money. She claimed the receipt proved she owned the value. The cashier had to explain that you must return the actual products. The lady left angry and still did not understand how stores work. And there you have it, folks. Absolute proof that for some people, the holiday spirit means having the sheer audacity to try and return a dead Christmas tree in January. The levels of entitlement truly stagger the imagination. If watching these retail nightmares made your brain hurt just a little bit, do us a favor and smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe to BrainFumble and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on future stupidity. Share this video with a friend who needs a good laugh at humanity's expense. Now I want to hear from you. What is the wildest, most insane Karen encounter or ridiculous return you've ever witnessed in real life? Spill the tea in the comments down below.